Today, we're unpacking a totally new way to think about AI. See, we're not talking about a single all-knowing brain anymore. We're talking about a coordinated team. It's a new kind of architecture, and it's designed to tackle those really tough, multi-part questions that leave most of today's chatbots completely stumped. You know the feeling, right? You ask a really complex work question, something like, hey, based on our Q3 reports and the latest market trends, what drove our product's performance, and what was the team's feedback on Slack about the launch? And what do you get back? Well, usually the AI just breaks. It gets lost, it can't connect the dots between all those different data sources, and it hands you back a totally useless answer. And that really brings us to a tale of two AIs. On one hand, you've got your standard single AI model. Think of it as a generalist who's trying to do everything at once. It gets confused by complex questions, and if it hits a wall, the whole thing just fails. But on the other side, we have this new approach, an AI team. This is more like a group of specialists, each with a very specific job, all managed by a brilliant project lead. This team thrives on diverse data, and it's way, way more reliable. So here's how we're going to break this all down today. First, we'll look at why that one-brain approach just isn't cutting it anymore. Then, we'll get into building an AI dream team, and we'll meet its project manager, the orchestrator, and its crew of specialists. We'll see how it turns total chaos into a single, coherent answer, and finally, we'll talk about why this is such a game changer for the future. All right, first up, the problem with one brain. We're digging into why these traditional, monolithic AI systems, even really powerful ones that use Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG, so often come up short. And the simple reason is, they're just one brain trying to juggle way too many things at once. So what's really going on here? Well, a single AI just gets tangled up in the ambiguity of a complex question. It totally loses context if you try to ask follow-ups. And here's the big one for any business. It needs to pull information from completely different places, internal reports, the live internet, even your team's Slack channels. For a long time, we thought, oh, we just need to make the search part better. But that's not it. It turns out this is an orchestration problem, not just a search problem. So how do we solve it? That brings us to section 2. Building an AI dream team. The central idea here is a whole new architecture, one that's designed to work less like a single overworked brain and a lot more like a really well-run company. And this really says it all. You basically fire the overworked generalist who's trying to be a policy expert, a market analyst, and a communications manager all at the same time. It's just not sustainable. Instead, you bring in a coordinated team of specialists, where each one is an absolute expert in their own domain. And this is where we meet the most critical member of that team. Section 3, the orchestrator takes charge. You can think of this agent as the project manager for the entire AI team. Okay, this is the crucial distinction right here. The orchestrator does not find the answer itself. That's not its job. Its job is to look at your request and create the perfect plan to get that answer by managing the rest of the team. It's all about strategy and delegation, not just raw search. And here's its 4-step playbook. First, it analyzes your question to figure out what you really want. Second, it looks at its team and identifies which specialists are needed for this specific job. Third, and this is the really clever part, it breaks your big complex question down into smaller, bite-sized subtasks. And finally, it delegates each of those little tasks to the right agent. And get this, all of this happens before a single piece of data is even retrieved. Which, of course, leads us perfectly into section 4, a team of specialists. Let's meet the experts that the orchestrator has on speed dial. This is where specialization becomes a true superpower. First up, we have Agent A, who we'll call the corporate librarian. This agent's entire world is your company's internal knowledge base, all those official policies, manuals, and technical reports. It uses powerful vector search to do these really deep, meaning-based searches, making sure that a core part of the final answer is always grounded in verified, official company data. Next, meet Agent B, the market analyst. Its whole job is to look outside the company walls. Using web search, it taps into real-time external data. And this is so important, right? It's how you check if an internal policy is still compliant with new government regulations, or how you add crucial context about what's happening in the market right now. It stops the final answer from being stale or out of date. And finally, we have Agent C, the internal communicator. Now, this one might just be the most interesting of the bunch. Its specialty is digging through all that unstructured chatter from places like Slack and Gmail. This is where it finds the real-time, on-the-ground context. The informal decisions and team discussions that never ever make it into an official document, but are absolutely vital for getting the full picture. Okay, so now we've got 3 different specialists all working on their piece of the puzzle simultaneously. So how does the system take these separate streams of information and forge them into a single, coherent, intelligent answer? Well, that's section 5, from chaos to coherence. Well, the first huge advantage is just raw speed. Because agents A, B, and C are all working in parallel, at the same time, the system gathers information way faster than a single AI could, running one search after another. But it's also more reliable. Think about it. If, say, the web search fails for some reason, the other 2 agents are still on the job, which means you don't end up with a total failure. Now, here comes the secret sauce that makes it all coherent. The system uses a sophisticated method called Reciprocal Rank Fusion, or RRF. All you really need to know is that this is a super smart way to take the ranked search results from the librarian, the analyst, and the communicator and merge them all into one single master list, which ensures the absolute best, most relevant info from all 3 sources floats right to the top. And that brings us to the final step. A 4th AI, which you can think of as a synthesis agent, is handed this perfectly organized package of information. Now, it hasn't done any of the research. Its one and only job is to take all of that pre-vetted, high-quality context and craft it into one clear, accurate, and multi-source answer for you. So let's wrap this up with our final section, the future of AI teams, and really get to the heart of why this shift in architecture matters so much. When you look at it this way, the team-based approach just wins, hands down. It's faster because of that parallel processing. It's more reliable since there's no single point of failure. It's smarter because it lets each specialist agent use the perfect tool for their specific job. It's totally scalable. Need an expert in financial data? Just add a new agent to the team. And, maybe most importantly, it's trustworthy because every single piece of the final answer can be traced back to its original source. And this quote just nails that final point. For any serious business application, you absolutely have to be able to trust the AI's output. Verifiability isn't just a nice feature, it's a core requirement. And this entire architecture is built from the ground up to do just that, to link every single claim back to the document, the web page, or the Slack message it came from. So, where does this all go from here? Well, the next evolution is to make these AI teams even more proactive. Imagine a system that doesn't just give you its first answer. Imagine it reviews its own findings, spots gaps in its knowledge, and then decides all by itself to go back and do a second, even more focused round of research to fill in those gaps. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. We're rapidly moving away from AIs that just give you an answer and toward AI teams that can act as true research partners. So the real question becomes, what if your AI could not only answer the complex question you just asked, but could anticipate and research the next, even more important question that you should be asking? That is the future this architecture is building.